Welcome to Stampscaping 101. We did a test with the Brilliance Starlight Silver ink on white paper, and I got this little bit of a tinge of blue in the imprint because I just didn't clean off my stamp adequately beforehand. I don't know, I couldn't see the ink on there, but I thought it gave it a cool kind of look. It's kind of a multi-toned silver there. But I thought we would go with it and finish this scene off. I was just kind of testing for the appearance of the ink on, kind of a semi-coated, satiny looking cardstock. It's pretty close to matte. And just testing for the kind of the shimmery, I don't know, kind of finish to silver on matte. Okay, I've used it on things like silver on silver and silver on dark glossy, silver on iridescent papers in the past, but I don't know, I really hadn't thought to just use it straight onto just white paper. I don't know, to me it looks pretty cool, but I'm trying to figure out a really good application for it. I wouldn't send out a card just like that. I don't think I would need some additional tones in here or whatnot, so I thought we would just kind of go with what resulted by accident with the little bit of that blue tinge to it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring in some inks like this and create a vignette which creates a frame around our entire composition. I don't think I'll go too dark with it though, but we'll just have to see. This is one of those things where, I don't know, like most of my scenes, it's largely an experiment in order to see what something's going to look like. I guess some of my videos are kind of instructional. You know, if you kind of follow along, you can see in the intro section on a lot of them. If you like it or not, you can kind of follow along with me and kind of do it as a stamp along. I see a lot of people creating some really great things with that. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm testing to see kind of the overall appearance, of course, but I'm also testing to see how this Brilliance ink, which is a water-based pigment ink, okay, it's not like the oil-based ones that most of them are. Okay, so I'm testing to see if this silver ink that has dried overnight, very adequately, if it's going to go back into solution and blur with my application of additional water-based media over the top of it. And it might be blurring slightly. Okay, I'm rubbing this down, and, paper towels are, they're pretty rough. It's not like a Kleenex or something like that. So, where I'm doing that down there, it is kind of blurring it slightly, but it's not too bad. I don't think it's kind of an obtrusive look to it, okay? Now, if it started doing that too bad, instead of rubbing it like this, what I'm doing is I'm dabbing it, okay? So it's not, creating that type of, whatever, friction or whatever, not the degree of surface wear that motion can create. Okay, but that's my sponging technique around the edges. That's a very light hue. I usually start very light, and if I can, I just work up incrementally. Oh boy, my 30-year-old pad is starting to crumble here. I was talking with someone yesterday, and she was showing me some pads that she had acquired somewhere, but see that kind of crumble there? You can still use the Marvy pads like this. You can just kind of dab in. You don't want to get some of those little crumbs, but well, that's the way things go. But when you can get 30 years, and I'm not lying, that's 30 years, because those pads like that did not look like that after, I don't know, like 20 years ago. They looked like this one right here. This is a newer one. These are, completely, discontinued, so those Marvy inks really served me well, but this is still working okay. I just wouldn't make an impression on here anymore, with that crumbly foam there. Okay, but anyways, this is a salvia blue. Okay, and it's just going a little bit darker. All right, and I'm adding this largely in the same area that I did with the previous color. I'll go one extra color. I think I think it's coming together pretty good here in terms of appearance. Let's go with the Bahama blue here. There's Bahama and Danube. I think the blue that I used on that was a Marvy. I didn't use it on that, but it was used on the stamp that created the silver impression with the residual ink from, the previous usage. But we don't have to use that same color. A lot of times I'll use the exact same color just to blend a little bit better, but I think the Danube, will be sufficient. Okay, so adding this in, and I don't know, it looks pretty interesting. Normally I would stamp out my imagery in black, okay? Most of us do. You stamp out your main objects in black, and, we add our additional coloring, embellishments, whatever, afterwards. But how many times do we use silver, especially on, white or light plain cardstock? Hardly ever. So, I like that look. Let's see. The thing that I'm kind of surprised to is that that little tinge of blue is still reading pretty well. Okay, now this Danube blue right here is pretty close in value to that blue. I think it's kind of a navy blue tinge. So when you have that type of thing, it's, if you really, this looked fine with a couple layers of blue, but if you use that same blue, like the darkest of colors, around your perimeter, it can really bring things together. So if I used black, I would go all the way to black. Black in this case, I think, would be a little bit too kind of overpowering with that kind of more reflective silver of the impressions. But that being said, I was thinking about using some black on here just to create additional depth. I don't know if I want to do that, though. But I thought this could use, I don't know, just like an overhanging branch or something to flank the quote stamp, maybe, but I don't know, I'm not sure. Look at this. See that? That is really different right there. And see, these inks, they held up pretty well against that tone, but see, this is what it looks like right here. You can see these dye inks are going right into it. I'm doing my two light source like this. Okay, so it's darker in here, separating kind of these two spheres of light. Sometimes I make one sphere smaller, sometimes it's off center, and light is over here, whatever. But kind of two areas of light separated by something that's dark. It could be an object, or it could be additional tone, and I brought some of this tone, in there like that. Not really with the darkest one, but with the lighter ones. So you can look up, if you're ever curious about kind of easy lighting schemes, you just look Stampscapes easy lighting, and it'll come up in my video in regards to this kind of structuring. But anyways, look at that. How that silver really stands out against that. Look at that kind of reflection. I'm usually looking at that on dark papers and going like this, But I'm surprised at this one. It seems like there could be a pretty cool application for that. All right, I'm going to do it. I'm just going to go for some dark impressions here, foreground impressions, and we'll just see how it goes. I just want to create some extra depth. If I always, this isn't some kind of precious one-of-a-kind thing that I can't do again, so if I need to, I'll just re-stamp it if I don't like the look of this, and I really want this scene, okay? All right, so I'm stamping some additional reeds here in black VersaFine Clair. I don't know how it'll dry on the silver. It should dry in time, maybe. For me, maybe not immediately. But I can always heat set too. Okay, so that is that black right there. Okay, so it creates a little bit more depth. It's actually pretty strong in terms of depth. I don't know. I might have liked it more without, but we'll see. I always say if you have something kind of isolated like that, it's an unusual color. So if you can bring more elements into the mix that can relate to it, like I'm going to do now with this oak branch here, okay? I'm going to try to not stamp over my quote, though, with it. But if you can bring more kind of uniformity in, in some way, those kind of isolated objects or elements will make more sense. Okay, so you put black on the bottom, put black on the top in terms of some imagery or just some additional tone, I guess. Okay. I always say what you do is you use all Stampscape stamps have been designed to be used for partials, okay? So you see right there, I just used a tiny little bit of it. You might say, wait a minute, I can't use this tree in there because it's too big for this, but I'm just using it like this. See how I made this area denser like that? And then I made this area on this side a little bit more airy so you can use it in its entirety. By the way, this one would look great in silver, it's just a branch and decorative element, but you can just use it as little bushes, like down below, that are heavy or more dense. Use it wherever way you want. And, for me, I use it primarily for those partials, partial usage. Okay, so that is that. I think that looks better, with those trees up top, so you still get that. That kind of look. I think it looks pretty cool. All right, so I'm doing the things right here that I've traditionally done in terms of creating additional depth and whatnot. Let's go into one more technique on here, and let's see how the Silver Inks responds to some additional white pigment ink. Okay, this is all white down here. This is going to be really easy for me to merge my white kind of misting effects, I guess you can call it, fogging effects, okay? And we'll see if it looks, I don't know, kind of a good or even appropriate for this silver. I'd imagine, I don't know, most of the times it looks pretty good wherever you use it. Just a white pigment ink. The brilliance probably has a little bit of a better chance of applying over the top of the silver more than like a standard pigment ink, but you can try whatever you have when you're applying it in kind of a nice light coating. Just about any type of pigment ink should dry, even though you're applying it over the top of a metallic impression that's probably sealed off a lot of the pores of the paper. Okay, so I'm being a little bit careful about the VersaFine Clair up here. That might still be a little bit damp. So I'm going to apply some of this white in these background trees, making them a little bit lighter, and hopefully when I do that, maybe it'll look like those trees, those smaller trees in the distance right there, look farther back, okay? So I'm just kind of altering my silver impression. See that right there? Doesn't it look like they're farther in the distance by making them lighter like that? Let's check this out. Look at that. See the reflective type of quality. Look at, I've knocked out the reflection aspect of that. Okay. Let's put a little bit of this mist down at the base of the lake here, like it's kind of mist rising off of the water's surface, probably an early morning type of kind of a situation. Look at this. I put my finger into the the Clair there. It's a good thing I just did that and lifted up because I didn't smear it around. So, all right, I need to watch that. Maybe we should emboss it. Okay, so I'm being careful not to go down here too and put this into that. I think that this looks great. I mean, most of the times when I do this kind of misty type of technique, I think it adds to it. It adds a softness to it. I like textural range and contrast, okay? Contrast in terms of colors, but we're doing textural contrasts here. So, just in terms of that Lakeside Cove, I think that altered the... what it does is it alters the emotional quality of that impression, okay, or that image. It looks very soft and airy, it has a soft lighting to it. It looked pretty good before because it was just light to begin with, that silver and the reflective nature of it, but here you can see where I've kind of added some of that white pigment because you can see that real glary look, but down here there isn't any, but I don't know, that silver ink has some potential, doesn't it? Just in terms of the look like that. I think that looks pretty good as is. That you can get this look like this just from standard inks. Like this would be like a blue or something like that, or a blue-gray impression. But you have that reflective nature to it. Eh, boy. It's like I need yet another. Look at that loon disappear like that almost, you know? That's what's fun about kind of metallic inks and using metallic surfaces and whatnot. If I stamp this on like a silver surface, maybe it would disappear completely. Let's see. I don't know if I looked at this one right here in terms of that. Even in the glarest of light, that you can still see that impression there. So I don't know. Maybe more on the iridescence. Maybe that was it. You can almost have that loon kind of disappear. So. Anyways, all right, I'm not going to format this into a card, but I think it'll look pretty good on a pre-folded card or something like this. I just want to let this ink dry, and hopefully it does. I mean, it should. Just find this is a porous paper that I stamped this on, but VersaFine Clear is just such a thick, rich, deep ink. It does take a little time for it to dry, so we'll allow it to do so. All right, so there's my card. And there's the effects on it. And I think we have something to further explore going forward. Gosh, that ink sure doesn't look silver like that, but it sure does. Or it sure is. Interesting. Okay, thanks for watching.